Hi everyone, it's Miss Lowry again. Welcome to the week 2 science lesson. Last week we were doing all about parts of the plants and what plants needed in order to grow, and we learned that they really needed sunlight, water, some nutrients from the soil and some carbon dioxide from the air around them. Now this lesson is also going to be about plants, but I thought I would start off by thinking about last week. Here, I brought home with me some of the pea plants that some of the pupils in year 11 were growing. So I thought I'd bring these home with me so I could keep them watered. I have got 3 of these pea plants, and I gave some of them to a couple of my next door neighbours so that they would have something to do just while everyone is isolating at the moment. So I've got 3 of these pea plants. I am going to put one of them in a really sunny area in the garden. I'm going to put one of them in a shady area in the garden, and I am going to put one of them inside the house. I'm going to make sure they all get the same amount of water, but obviously they're going to have different amounts of sunlight because one is going to be in a sunny part of the garden, one is going to be in a shady part of the garden, and one of them is going to be inside the house. I want you just to have a little think, maybe chat with people who you're at home with, about which you think will grow the tallest out of those 3. Have a think. So, will my pea plant that is in the sunshine grow the tallest? My pea plant that is in the shade grow the tallest? Or my pea plant that is going to stay inside my house grow the tallest? I need to have a little think about that, and we'll probably come back to these in a few weeks whenever they've grown a bit taller. For now, they're all the same height. So yeah, let's see which one of those grows the tallest. Have a think about that. Now, on to today's lesson. Today, we are going to be learning all about plant life cycles. I'm going to include a couple of worksheets. I'll put an image of them here, and I'll put them just underneath the video here on the school website as well. Obviously, if you don't have a printer at home, panic not. You'll need a sheet of paper and a pen, and what you are going to do is you are going to fold this page in half and fold it in half again, and you will end up with a page that is split into 4 sections. If we open it up now, you see I've got 4 sections. 1, 2, 3, 4. So you can use that instead of printing out a worksheet. Now, today, for our lesson about plant life cycles, there's going to be lots of new words. So hopefully I should be able to put these words up onto the screen so you can see them. Some of the words you'll need are seed, roots, big word, germination, sprout, seedling, and plant. Now, some of those words you will have heard before, such as seed, root, and plant, but some of the words will be definitely new words, such as seedling, germination, which is the big word, and sprout. You might have heard of sprouts at the Christmas dinner table, but this is a bit different. So, today's plant life cycle, we're going to start with a seed. So on your worksheet that I've given an example of, we start off with a seed. I'm going to write the word seed on here, and I'm going to have a go at drawing what the seed looks like myself. This is a kind of zoomed in seed. Seed, you see there? Seeds sometimes come in packets, like I've got some packs of seeds here. So when I look inside, what have I got? I've got some chilies. I've got some coriander, and I've got some basil there that I could plant from my seed packet. I'll show you up close what one of these seeds might look like. Here's a seed for the basil. They're very small. You see that? And black. But then, for example, my seeds for the chilies, you see that there? they're quite a bit bigger and they are a different colour. They're kind of yellow coloured. So seeds can all look different. For any of my classes who planted the peas with me, you'll have remembered that they were even bigger again. They looked almost like, well, they looked like a pea, but less bright green. They were dried out. So we're starting with a seed in your first box. Whenever you plant one of your seeds into some soil, so I'll put my seed in some soil here on my next one. Seed has been planted in some soil. They'll start to grow something out of the bottom. Can you think about what you think they are called? And I'm going to have a go at drawing some of them onto this seed here. Let's see if it gives you a helping hand. How do you think that my seed has started to grow? It's started to grow some roots. I'm going to label those here. Some roots. R-O-O-T-S. Roots. And it will also begin to sprout. Now, I said before that you might have heard of the word sprout from maybe your Christmas dinner, but this word sprout means something different. It's the action of the plant starting to come out of the seed. So it's starting to come out of the seed. Can you see that there? There's a little sprout. It's sprouting. This whole process is called germination. Now I know that that's a big word, but it basically means that the seed is starting to turn from just being one of these little seeds in a packet or wherever you've got it from and into a plant. So it's starting to grow. But the word we use in science for that is germination. It is a big word, germination. So we've started it as a seed, and I'm going to draw a big arrow. Whoop. Started from a seed, and we've gone from step 1, a seed, into step 2, germination, where there are roots coming from the bottom and it's sprouting out of the top. I'm going to put the word sprout. There we go. The next step after germination, I'm going to do another big arrow, is that it will become what is called a seedling. Now, a seedling isn't a fully grown plant, but it is the start of your plant. Whenever you see the seed has got roots and it's starting to come out of the soil. So it's basically a small little plant. It's not the best drawing I've ever done. If I was in school right now, I know that some of my classes would be making fun of my drawings, and there we go, fair enough. So seedling. So I've gone from germination, where the seed has begun to sprout and there are roots coming out of it, and we're coming down into step 3, where I've got a seedling starting to grow out of the soil there. There are roots at the bottom and the plant is starting to grow. And then another arrow into step 4. Does anyone think they might know what step 4 is? After it's become a little baby plant that's just sticking up out of the soil, what's it going to grow into? Well, it's going to grow into a fully grown plant, of whatever kind of plant that may be. I'm not really sure what kind of plant I'm drawing here, but it's it's got leaves. There we go, there's my fully grown plant there. So step 4 is a plant. That might be a tomato plant, it might be a chili plant, it might be a pea plant. So step 4 is a plant. Now, you see we've got step 1 of it being a seed. Step 2 is germination, where the roots are starting to come out and it's starting to sprout. We've got step 3, where there is a seedling, that's a really small plant. And we've got step 4, where we've got a fully grown plant. Now, I am going to add in an extra arrow to complete this cycle, because it is a plant life cycle. And you might be thinking to yourself, Miss Lowry, there is no way that that plant is going to all of a sudden turn back into being that teeny tiny little seed that you showed us in that packet before. And you are right. It is not just going to turn into that seed. That plant will produce more seeds itself. So for example, with the pea plant, that pea plant will eventually have pea pods growing off it, which will produce the seeds that we can then plant again and complete the cycle. For example, if it was a tomato plant, I would plant the seed, it would germinate, the roots would grow and it would begin to sprout into a seedling. It would form a fully grown tomato plant, and then the tomatoes that are growing on that plant have seeds inside, which then go into the ground and continue the cycle. That is the plant life cycle. As I say, there are worksheets there that you can click on underneath the video, or if you want to have a go at making your own one like this, it might look even better than mine because, as I say, some people sometimes make fun of my drawings in class, but that's fine. Now, bearing this in mind, that sometimes the plants create their own seeds, I thought we could maybe have a go at doing some of this ourselves using plant scraps that you might already have in the house. So let's give it a go. So what we're going to need for this is tomato. It can be any type of tomato. It can be big tomato, it could be a little cherry tomato like this. A pepper. This is the only type of pepper that I could find in the shop whenever I was there the other day. It could be a bell pepper, it could be one of these sweet peppers, it could be chili peppers. Completely up to you. Something to grow the seeds in. So if you don't have little plant pots, you don't need to worry because you could actually use an empty egg carton. Some compost. I've got some compost here in this little bag. I didn't want to bring the whole bag into my kitchen. But if you don't have compost at home, you can try using tea bags, old used tea bags. Don't use them if they've not been used. Make a cup of tea first and then use the old tea bag. And after I've done this little experiment, I will show you something that you can do without needing any soil at all. So, shall we give it a go now? You'll also need a knife to cut the pepper and tomato with. I would recommend that you get an adult to do that, please. Please, please. Let's give it a go. So there we go, I've got all of the seeds out of the pepper and the tomato. I would like to point out I washed my hands really, really well before I did any of this. I would also like to point out I am not just going to be throwing away the rest of this pepper or the rest of this tomato. These will be eaten. Please do not be cutting up fruit and veg and then just getting rid of the goodness that you can eat just to keep the seeds, because that's not what we want. So as you might have seen there in that clip, I got so many seeds out of that pepper. I couldn't believe how many there were. Can you see that there? Oh, loads of seeds there in the pepper. And then the tomato is a little bit slimy, isn't it? Now what you need to do with the tomato is you need to rinse off all of the sliminess and then leave the seeds to dry for about 3 days. So whenever I show you the next steps, I've actually got some seeds here that I did 3 days ago and they have already dried out. So you just basically rinse off any of the slimy bit, make sure you keep the seed and leave it out on a windowsill or something and they'll just dry out and then they're ready for planting. So I'm going to show you the next step for planting these seeds. I am going to use an egg box. I'm going to do the back 3 for the peppers and the front 3 for the tomatoes. I am going to be using a combination of some of the insides of the tea bags and also some compost that I have at home. Here is my final egg box seed tray. If you can see here, I've written the letter P at the back because that's where I planted the peppers, and I've written the letter T here to remind me that that's where the tomatoes are. You might have noticed in the video clip there that I pressed down a little hole, put a couple of the seeds in, and then covered it back up with the soil again. These will need something else though, won't they, to make them start germinating. What else will they need? I've got the seed, I've got the soil. What else will they need for me to look after them to make sure that they grow into some tomato and pepper plants? What else will I need? I'm going to need to water them. So I don't want to put loads and loads and loads and loads and loads of water onto them because the water will all come out from underneath. In fact, I'll probably leave this on a plastic tray somewhere just in case any does come out from underneath. I'm going to sprinkle a bit of water on, maybe every other day or if the soil gets dry. After a while, you'll see that something has started to sprout and that you'll end up with a little tiny seedling. At that point, you might want to transfer it into the ground outside or into a pot, something a bit bigger than this egg carton. But this is a great way to get some plants started off. I would recommend you keep these somewhere sunny, but remember to keep watering them because if it's somewhere too sunny, it will all dry out. Good luck with that. Now, I did promise you at the end of the video, I would show you how to regrow some vegetables at home without having to need any soil at all. So I went online and I found some different images, as I'll put just here, of different ideas of how you can do this regrowing of veg at home. The two that I found really interesting and I thought that probably more people would have at home was a lettuce. This is the size of lettuce I could find, but this is a lettuce. It could be a big lettuce, a small lettuce. You can regrow a lettuce at home from the scraps. And I have also got scallions, which whenever I lived in England, I used to call spring onions, but I've also got some scallions. And you can grow these back from the scraps as well. What you will need for this is obviously your scallion, your lettuce. You will need a container that is bigger than the plant, and you'll need some water. So I'll show you how to do that here now. I hope you had fun learning about how plants grow and germinate from a seed, or how you can also grow new life from old scraps of food stuff in your own home.